You can answer.
I don't remember that conversation.
Prior to your Kung Fu Panda idea, do you remember that there was the idea within Dreamworks Animation of having a movie set in China with animals indigenous to China?
A movie?
That was the idea for a movie?
I did not know that there was a movie about that.
That doesn't sound at all related to your Kung Fu Panda idea, then, I take it?
Objection, argumentative, incomprehensible.
I don't know what kind of movie you're talking about.
I'm not saying it was made into a movie.
Oh.
I'm saying prior to the time that you conceived of your Kung Fu Panda idea, was there the suggested idea within Dreamworks Animation of creating a movie set in China with animals indigenous to China?
Objection, it's vague as to idea as opposed to arena of interest.
Well, we knew that we would love to do a movie set in China. If we did a animated movie set in China, it would be likely that it would have animals indigenous to China in it.
And that answer is prior to the time that you conceived of your Kung Fu Panda idea?
Yes.
And who is the we that you were referring to when you said we knew we would love to do a movie set in China?
Well, I referred to list of arenas and animals and genres earlier, and China was regularly on that list. Pandas were on that list. Other animals that lived in China were on that list. And there were other countries and animals as well.
So these lists of arenas, were they things that you worked on while you worked at Dreamworks Animation in any fashion?
Yes.
Each and every one?
Well, I can't say with any certainty each and every one.
Is it the case that, in fact, there were a lot of them that weren't worked on by anyone because they didn't progress to the next step?
Objection, vague as to a lot of them. Is this arenas or lists?
You can answer the question, if you can.
A lot of what?
What you just referred to. You referred to a list of arenas, correct?
Yes.
What do you understand that to be?
Well, arenas could be locations in which to set a animated film.
Okay. And do you recall that there were various lists?
Yes.
In fact, I'll ask you to look at what has previously been marked as Exhibit 86, Development Status Report, and ask you to turn to the second page of that document. And first of all, is this a document that is familiar to you in format?
Yes.
And is it a document that you saw regularly while you were employed at Dreamworks Animation? Not this particular one, but documents of this nature.
Yes.
How frequently did these come out approximately while you worked there?
Approximately once a week.
And on this second page, Do you see that there are different descriptions in the development summary? So, for instance, the top one says committed projects, then there's one that says pods, then there's one that says in development, etc.
Yes.
And earlier I had asked you about which projects that you worked on while you were at Dreamworks Animation. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Looking at this document for some description of different categories of development, if you will, of projects, is it fair to say that there were various categories of development projects that nobody was working on much? They were just there as ideas of some sort?
Yes, but some of these ideas that were even just ideas we were trying to come up with stories for.
And just not all of them became movies, correct?
No, not all of them became movies.
So when you said we knew we would love to do a movie set in China, and the we refers to you as one of the people, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Young is another of the people, correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Katzenberg as another person, correct?
Correct.
For how long did you know you would love to do a movie set in China?
I thought that it was a great setting for a movie.
Did you come up with that idea to do a movie set in China?
Well, we had talked in the past about doing a film set in China.
We being the same three people we just talked
Yes.
about? And the past being prior to the time that you conceived of your Kung Fu Panda idea?
Yes.
Who suggested the arena and interest of having a movie set in China?
Well, it was suggested not by anyone in particular. It was simply an arena that had not been done in animation yet, CG animation.
Was there a suggestion to have a movie set in China with animals indigenous to China?
There was not a specific suggestion to do it, but we did want to do a movie set in China. We wanted to do a movie about pandas. Pandas live in China. Seemed like a natural fit for those two ideas to go together. But I was not told by anyone to pursue a animal China idea.
And I just wanted to know if prior to your Kung Fu Panda idea, there was a suggestion already in existence to do a movie in China with animals indigenous to China.
At what point in time are we talking about here?
Prior to the time that you conceived of your Kung Fu Panda idea.
To do a movie set in China with animals that are indigenous to China. Was that an idea that had been in existence at Dreamworks before I came up with Kung Fu Panda?
Correct.
Yes.
Who came up with that idea?
I don't know who came up with that idea. I wouldn't even call it an idea. It's a country.
Well,
It's China. It's pandas. There's no. It's a place. It's an animal.
okay, so you don't think the fact that you're adding in animals to the concept of the place of China adds anything to it?
That is not a novel concept in animation.
But it was a concept that existed at DreamWorks Animation. Is that correct?
Doing a film about pandas, yes. Doing a film set in China, yes. If you're going to do a film about pandas, you would most likely set it in China.
I don't mean to ask you the same question again, but I'm just not understanding the answer to the question that I'm asking. I do understand what you're
Right,
saying.
right.
I understand that it's a logical connection. But you do agree you can have a movie set in China that's an animated movie that doesn't have animals indigenous to China, right?
Well, absolutely you could.
Okay, so I'm just asking you, was there already in existence the concept specifically of having a movie set in China with animals indigenous to China before the time you came up with your Kung Fu Panda idea, to your knowledge?
I do know that China was an arena that we had discussed. Pandas was an animal that we had discussed. Did anybody specifically say, hey, if we do a panda idea, it must be in China? Or if we do a China idea, it must be with a panda?
No, I didn't.
I don't recall if anybody said that.
I wasn't saying pandas.
Oh, indigenous animals?
There are other indigenous animals to China other than pandas. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not saying pandas in
Right.
my question. So my question is, at the time that you conceived of your idea for your Kung Fu Panda idea, rather,
Yes.
were you aware of any concept in existence at Dreamworks Animation to do a movie set in China with animals indigenous to China?
Objection. This is asked and answered. The witness just testified as to the concepts of pandas and the concepts
Counsel.
of China. This
No
is asked and
objection.
answered, and it's harassing. And I'm going to stop this line of questioning unless you move on.
Are you instructing him not to answer?
Are you going to move on?
Oh, I have a question then.
It's been asked and answered multiple times.
Counsel, you can instruct, and I'll take appropriate action if I deem necessary. But at this point, you're just talking. So please,
At this point, you're just talking. Ask a question.
please answer my question. If you don't have it in mind, I'll ask the court reporter to read it back.
Read it back, please.
Question, were you aware of any concept in existence at DreamWorks Animation to do a movie set in China with animals indigenous to China?
Objection. Asked and answered multiple times.
No, I can't think of a specific concept about a movie set in China with indigenous animals.
Okay, fair enough. How much percentage-wise do you think you contributed to the Kung Fu Panda movie?
Objection calls for speculation.
Hundreds of people worked on the film.
Did you hear my question?
Yes, but I can't quantify my participation. I mean, if I'm one out of several hundred people who worked on the film, if you want to quantify it that way, which is the only scientific way that I could quantify it, that I'm one out of, let's say, 400 people, then I am 1/4 of 1%, if that.
And is that what you would do if somebody were to ask you to quantify your contribution to Kung Fu Panda, even though you are the one who conceived of the idea?
Well, by what judge do you quantify it? Quantity.
To your understanding.
Quantity to me is a numerical concept. There is no numerical concept that applies, I think, in a creative case when you have hundreds of people working on a film in various capacities, all of whom contributed significantly to the success of the film.
So is it your testimony that you cannot give me a percentage to your understanding of what your idea contributed to the movie?
No, I cannot.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge of who made the decision to give you a special thanks credit on Kung Fu Panda?
No, I don't.
When, if ever, did anybody tell you you were going to get that credit?
Very shortly before the film came out,
Who told you?
Chris Kuzer told me that I would get a special thanks credit on it.
Did he call you up to do that?
Yes.
And to the best of your recollection, what else was said by him and what was said by you?
He told me that, and I thought that was really nice. And that made me very happy.
And so much so that you told people in your life, hey, I'm getting a special thanks credit?
No, I didn't do that.
Did you tell
Maybe my mom.
Did you tell anybody, hey, the idea that I came up with is coming out as a major motion picture movie?
Sure, I might have done that.
To whom and when?
My family.
When?
Once it was in production.
You can't really recall a specific time, but you know you most likely would have done that.
Yeah, I imagine I would tell my family.
But you don't have a specific recollection.
No.
Anybody else that you think you might have told?
Friends.
Do you
But it wasn't.
recall-
Can't recall a specific instance. It was conversation.
Okay, so there's nothing that you can specifically recall as you sit here today?
No.
When did you learn about the claim being asserted by Mr. Dunn that in fact he's the one who came up with the idea for the Kung Fu Panda movie?
I read it, I believe, in Hollywood Reporter online.
And what, if anything, did you do when you read that?
I was surprised, and I contacted Dreamworks and said, "Is this for real? Is this a real case?" And then I said, I'm sure at some point I'll need to be talked to in a setting like this, and I would cooperate fully.
Who did you have that conversation with?
I object to any disclosure of any discussions with you and counsel at Dreamworks. So if you talk to Mr. Kuzer or a business person, it's not a lawyer. Otherwise, those conversations are privileged, and I would object and instruct you not to answer.
So let's ask the foundational question of who did you have those discussions with?
Well, I had it with, not with a business person, not with Chris. With legal.
What's the name? You are allowed to give me the name of the person that you had the conversation.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I don't know. Can I? I don't know.
If you recall.
Chris Miller.
Without telling me the substance, how many conversations did you have?
I don't know. Over the course of how long this has been going on? Maybe 7 or 8 conversations.
Were they always on the telephone, or were some in person?
They were always on the telephone.
Was anybody